Oh boy, it's Castlevania! So last year I did a review of Castlevania Lords of Shadows, and I thought the game was a very rocky reboot with excellent combat and presentation, but with a lackluster story and some gameplay gimmicks. Now there was somewhat of a sequel that came out 3 years later on the 3DS and online stores, the PSN and 360, and it was called Castlevania Mirror of Fate. Now I have not played this game since I do not own it, and perhaps one day I will take a look at it. Now, moving forward a year later, it is February 2014, and the true sequel of Castlevania Lords of Shadows comes out. Lords of Shadows 2. And oh boy, is this game something else. It has rested on my shelf for years, okay? And it was one of the first PS3 games I acquired when I was a wee lad. I was too busy playing Metal Gear and other better PlayStation games to care about this shit. Now, in this game, you take control as Dracula for the very first time in a fully realized experience, and oh boy, this was a doozy. So wake up your goth dummy mommies and put on your eyeliner, because we're playing Lords of Shadow 2. Let's pop this bad boy in, and what the fuck? I gotta install this shit? What happened to the good old days of popping a bad boy in and just playing it? So the general gameplay is a massive improvement, and also quite a downgrade in my opinion. The combat feels so amazing. Like playing Devil May Cry, but with its own twist. I feel like this definitely could have worked in the future if they continued going down the path of 3D Castlevania. The gameplay just feels so fun. You got two new weapons replacing the blue and red aura whips from the first game. And you got this thing called the Void Sword that heals you as you attack them. And then you have the Chaos Claws that do massive damage, slicing up motherfuckers, and Falcon punching people feels so good. Everything about attacking enemies and maneuvering around them is so raw. Like, it really feels like I'm fighting as Dracula. Like, they took concepts from the first game and expanded upon them while adding new mechanics and new tools and items like the mist form, distracting enemies with bats, slowing time and stat buffs, etc., etc. The combat is excellent. Also, climbing has improved dramatically. Now, in the first game, the climbing mechanic was very long-winded and pretty fucking boring, but now the climbing speed has improved, and there is also a new feature that allows you to highlight the path so you can actually know where to climb this time. Beautiful. Boss battles are awesome and feel climactic as fuck. The presentation is still here. The artwork and the aesthetics feel like Castlevania, and it screams gothic horror until we get to the other parts of the game where it gets really fucking dumb. Now, the game is no longer a level-to-level, linear-style game, now taking on more of the approach of a large, interconnected world with sandboxes, style worlds in between. Now, that's not a bad thing, okay? It's sort of trying to replicate the Metroidvania style, but it just doesn't work here. It also feels massively different when it comes to camera work from the first game. Lords of Shadows 1 had fixed camera angles, sort of resembling God of War and, you know, like early PlayStation 2 slasher, you know, like hack and slash games. This game is completely over the shoulder, giving a third-person view. However, the angle does change with you as you go into combat mode by zooming out. I honestly prefer this a lot more since the fixed camera angles made it very difficult to platform. I will say though, this game does love wasting your time when it comes to traversing these worlds and moving from one place to another. It feels like a fucking slog. There are portals you go through that you have to physically walk through, and it takes so much time to get to where you need to go. Now, there is a new gimmick that the game has implemented. In fact, it is the most controversial. Stealth segments. Oh my god! This feels like such a pace breaker, especially with how much they suck through playing these stealth sections. They require you to hide around like a little bitch and avoid these big red motherfuckers that have these massive guns, and you need to take possession over their bodies or someone else to progress through the area. Now, not to mention, there's also these really boring mouse segments where you just possess the body of a mouse and sneak through these nooks and crannies. Kind of cool, but it just feels like kind of pointless. This game has a bad habit of giving you pointless things to do to get to an end result. And one thing that I find insanely bizarre about this game is the fact that Dracula is able to take on swarms of enemies and fight these massive monsters with no issue, but God forbid he fights some red armored fuck. Like, this literally makes zero sense. There's a character named Agrius and you have to sneak around him and to get this item that he refuses to give you. But the story makes it seem like he might be too powerful to fight head on, so we must sneak around. Okay then. But after suffering through this awful ass section, you end up fighting him anyways and just completely curb stomping him. So what was even the point of sticking around if I could just gonna fight him either way? Why waste my time? So essentially there is a trade-off when it comes to gameplay. Combat is better than ever, climbing is a lot faster now, camera angles are a bit better, but the stealth segments and world traversal and tedious ass gimmicks is what we get. Can't always have everything we want. So I'm not going to go super in-depth into the story, because Lord knows if I do, the video is going to be like 2 hours long, and I want to make this as digestible as possible. Also, I want to make something perfectly clear. If you haven't watched my previous video on the first game, I highly recommend you do so you can better understand where I'm coming from when it comes to my opinions on the story of this rebooted series. Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan. Although, if you are familiar with the first game and this one as well, then, you know, go for it. Enjoy. Because, oh my god, is this story filled with some ups and a lot of downs. So the plot begins as Dracula is chillaxing in his room, with some assholes breaking down the door.
So I was just chillaxing in my room like a baller, and then all of a sudden these schmucks kicked in my door. Get on your knees! And I responded with, I'm not your mother last night!
And Dracula goes out and sees a massive, weird, medieval Gundam and says his iconic line, "What is a man?"
Whoop, whoop. Here I come. But a miserable pile of secrets.
You climb up on that motherfucker, blow it up to holy hell, and then some weird knight comes in and he speaks in tongues and Dracula talks his good shit and then they blow up together, Dragon Ball style. Then Dracula wakes up in the modern times, old, decrepit, and he stumbles out, crashes the fuck out, waking up, and then he eats an entire family. Yeah, what the hell? And then he wakes up again to Zobek and some weird knight dude telling him that they need his help to defeat these demonic beings called the Acolytes that are trying to resurrect Satan. Zobek promises the Dracula that he can give him the ending to his life that he so desperately wants by using the original whip that Gabriel used way back when. So now we have this huge world shift that's like really fucking odd. Like, I get that this is kind of foreshadowed at the end of the first game, but even then I thought it was really weird. Putting Dracula in a modern setting it just seems wrong to me. That's like putting Sonic the Hedgehog in Call of Duty. It just doesn't mesh well. Anyways, throughout the game, you shift between two worlds, the modern world and this weird dreamlike world where you're exploring the castle. Apparently, this entire city was built on top of your old castle, and the demons or the spirits or this red blood symbiote looking fucking carnage thing, I don't know, was wanting you to come back to becoming evil again? I don't know. I guess this is like a manifestation of Dracula's evil self or some kind of dark energy that pulls you into these worlds. And what's in the dream world are just like images or memories from Dracula's mind that are manifesting in some way. I don't really understand it, but whatever. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had no fucking idea what was going on since it just completely derails the story so often, and the transitions from the dream world to the real world and transitions from the real world to the dream world just kind of happen like that, and you just get like a weird sense of whiplash from it. However, I do enjoy playing through the dream worlds more than playing through the real world, since it feels more like Castlevania, and it looks a hell of a lot better in my opinion. In the dream world, you're essentially trying to bond with the son that you never got to spend time with, since Dracula went to go get some Newports and never came back. Now, actually what happened was that his wife had a secret child because the holy people had plans for him and they were kept secret. And his son grew up to be Trevor Belmont, and then they fought, and then Dracula killed him. But then he found out that it was his son, so he turned his dead son into Alucard. Then years later, Alucard and Simon came by, and Simon is also technically Alucard's son when he was Trevor Belmont. Okay, the continuity changes are so stupid. It was one thing to have one Belmont, directly become Dracula, but, like, directly changing characters just feels so wrong. especially after playing the original Castlevania games, with Trevor and Alucard being completely separate fucking characters. Oh yeah, and by the way, you don't really understand any of this unless you have played Mirror of Fate. You get like a Cliff Notes version, of this story at the beginning of the game. Anyways, so Dracula is spending time with the son, and I guess he just goes back and forth between worlds, checking in and out. Your son wants help rebuilding this Mirror of Fate, but it's broken in pieces, and you just do chores to find the pieces and put it back together. There's actually a really cool moment where you go into this theater and are performing this puppet play, and essentially you're just giving some backstory on some fucked up shit that Dracula did to this toy maker, and turned a good man into an evil one. It's honestly the biggest highlight of the game, and it's really well done. The boss fight is just as good as well. Throughout the game, you essentially travel from place to place in the real world, finding the acolytes, battling them, and the first acolyte is some woman using drugs to influence human beings' bodies and turning them into monsters, I guess. She eventually transforms into someone's fetish, and then Dracula slams those cheeks shut, beating the absolute hell out of her. The next acolyte is some Chancellor Palpatine-looking motherfucker that just zaps the shit out of Dracula, until eventually he lures him into darkness, where Dracula has all the power now? I don't know. The boss fight is really sick, and fighting off these 3 big monsters all at once is dope as all hell. The third acolyte is like some gross priest dude that's like resurrecting Satan. And that's pretty much it, really. The acolytes are honestly just whatever characters in this game. You know, just like Lords of Shadow 1, how the original 3 villains in that game were just kind of eh. Like I'm gonna say, the more interesting characters in this game are the ones in the dream world, being Carmilla, Medusa, the toy maker, Agrias. You know, all these boss fights are awesome, right? And they feel more in line with the rest of the Castlevania themes. Although Medusa is looking a little rough today, though. There must have been some fentanyl in the castle at some point, because how the fuck did this happen? The dream world portions is just, you know, honestly where the game shines the brightest. The rest of the real world just looks so boring, and it's just flat out uninteresting to me. You know, until we get to near the last quarter where we battle Victor Belmont. He's not Richter, but a future Gohan version of him. Okay, what the hell? Okay, so wait, hold on a second. So you're gonna rewrite Simon and Trevor Belmont, but we're drawing the line at Richter Belmont. They must have realized how fucking stupid the story got halfway through writing the story, and then they just tried making amends. Because I honestly cannot understand how they did this. Like genuinely, I don't understand how we got to this point in the story. Okay, so quick little editing note. I made a really fucking funny ass error in my judgment of judging this character Victor. So he's not really a future Gohan or like a future version of Richter. As a matter of fact, Victor Belmont is actually the protagonist to a canceled Castlevania game called Castlevania Resurrection on the Sega Dreamcast. So technically, he's not even supposed to be a mockery or a different version of Richter. I was not aware of this fact until I did a little bit of research post mid editing process. So yeah, I feel a little silly, and I'm ashamed to call myself a Castlevania fan. I am not. Apparently I'm a fake Castlevania fan. Anyways, so you battle not Richter, and then he ends up allying himself with you, and then he just fucking dies. Okay, why did you even exist to begin with if you were just gonna die anyways? Anyways, it's revealed that the knight in shining armor that's helping Zobek is actually Alucard in disguise. And he reveals some plot twist bullshit that makes M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong jizz his pants. Apparently, everything that is happening currently is a result of a plan that Alucard and Dracula made in the past, precisely at the moment when Dracula blew everything to Kingdom Come. So Alucard mentions that Satan and his followers have been scared to come back since Dracula's mere existence is keeping evil demons away. Anyways, so Dracula's mere existence is keeping the demons and Satan and all these monsters away. And Dracula has been suicidal lately. You know, he's been really depressed and he just wants to die. But if he dies, then all the monsters will come back knowing that he can't stop them because Dracula's dead, obviously, right? You know, in this scenario. So the plan now is to put Dracula in a really long fucking sleep so that centuries pass and the demons and Satan can return so that they can wake up Dracula and kill Satan again and the acolytes and truly ending the evil in the world of the future. I don't know. Okay, then yeah. Also, he also knows that Zobek is gonna recruit Dracula, and then Zobek is also gonna promise Dracula the death that he truly wants. You know, since he has that, you know, the fucking the whip that Gabriel used to use. I don't know. This is really weird. Like, okay, like I literally rewatched the scene like 4 times to really understand what the hell is going on. So then Alucard and Dracula join forces, and then they try to put this mirror back together for the 5th time after doing this puzzle over and over again. Okay, I got something I want to say. You mean to tell me that this entire city, right, / castle, this entire city castle with the most advanced technology there was at the time, even in the past, it was highly advanced nonetheless, okay? But there is not a single bottle of Loctite to be found. Are you kidding me? You think after the 2nd time it breaks, right? You think that, you know, Alucard would say, Dad, maybe we should, I don't know, glue this shit and put it in a bag somewhere. No, that would be completely ridiculous. Besides, I like putting the puzzles together, you fuckwit. So Alucard and Dracula let this last acolyte resurrect Satan, and then Zobek is really pissed off about it and reveals himself to be Death. Huh? What? Wait, what? Wait, what? When were you ever established that you were Death? What the hell? So, also, Death is a good guy now in this universe? Honestly, I can't even tell anymore. Back in the old games, Death always allied himself with Dracula, or he was just some, you know, sort of a follower of some kind. But now, I can't even tell who the fuck this guy is anymore. Like, the story doesn't even know who Zobek is anymore, like, genuinely. So you fight Death in a pretty cool boss fight, and then Satan reveals himself to be, holy shit, he is jacked! Motherfucker went from twink to Giga Chat. How the hell? So it's like if Ozzy Osbourne decided to take steroids instead of Coke and Quaaludes. Like, holy shit. Satan makes this big-ass monster. You climb it, killing it, and then Satan takes over Alucard's body. And then you do one more climactic battle that's not filled with magical bullshit mechanics this time. Oh, ain't that beautiful. Dracula slams his ass to the ground, then jukes out Satan, and finally kills him. Then he just goes into his temple, and then roll credits. 2007 style. Just happened. That's it. I guess Dracula doesn't want to die now. I don't okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. This story is a mess. I mean, it is a mess filled with so much random shit that happens for absolutely no reason, but the only reason that it exists is to justify cool moments and happening. Now, I've noticed that the entire Lords of Shadow story is essentially random shit happens so that we can get cool cutscene and cool moment. That's pretty much it. There's not really a rhyme or reason for anything to even, like, happen. It just kind of happens. Like, shit just happens, and then you just kind of have to accept it. Like, the best way I can describe to would really enjoy this story is to just kind of nod your head and agree with everything. Because that's pretty much all you're going to be doing to really enjoy this story. Now, I understand that there's a lot of fans that do like these stories and they do like these games. I don't understand why. I don't understand why they do. But you know what? To each their own, okay? I'm probably going to piss off a lot of Lords of Shadow fans, and that's fine. Look, all I'm saying is, gameplay-wise, the game is great. But story-wise, it's not so great.